Hey guys, welcome back to Quick Notes with Croissant. Today we're going to be talking about the book The Art of War by Sun Tzu. This is one of the best books of all time, highly applicable to a lot of different people's lives. It's just not on your first read. So the book talks a lot about military tactics and different ways that you can defeat your enemy, but all you have to understand in order to apply the book towards your life is by changing what it means by warfare with basically crucial conversations or general wants that you want out of life. Think of it about like if you're wanting to go for a job interview, understanding that that is a war between you and the person you're trying to get hired by, right? So if you can start to apply like that, there's a lot of principles that you can put into your business. Now, business, generally speaking, is probably the most modern form of warfare in terms of whether it's making the right decisions, poaching people's customers, or attracting the new ones. It is quite ruthless, generally speaking, in the world. You always have to make decisions out of logic versus out of emotion. So if you're an individual who runs a business, if you're an individual who's looking to go for that new job interview, or you really just want to master the types of relationships that you're currently in, for example, if you're living in a household where you're looking to motivate, inspire, or change people, just change, motivate, inspire, and change people into warfare. And think of it like it's a battle, which was basically whenever two different opinions meet, it's basically trying to overcome an adversity. That's the way that I interpreted the book. And that way it can be far more applicable because there are certain things that it's kind of tough to dissect and put into your own business. For example, it talks about sieging and how never siege on a walled city. Never siege on a wall city because it takes so much effort. It takes 3 months to set up the siege cannons, and it basically tires your men while all of the men in there are covered, sheltered, and have food. Now, I understand how that's pretty hard to apply towards your business, but the way I interpret that was only go into business that you know has a market for it. If you're trying to dominate the market on one that's already solid, one that's already existent, you're going to find yourself having a hard time, and you're probably going to fight a losing battle. You may be able to compete and you may be able to fight if you have the commodity and the assets behind you. For example, if I'm a person who's just starting and I'm wanting to get into sieging or business, I'm not going to start by attacking the most dominant market, for example, phones in general. That's touchscreens phones, it's highly saturated. In order to compete with the market, I would need an incredible amount of assets in order to basically beat it and start breaking through. So, for example, it would make sense to siege if you had an insane amount of assets. And in fact, the walled castle, or whatever it is that you're trying to invade, wasn't going to cost too much effective on your men or your equity or your estate because you have so much backing it. So it's pretty much a guaranteed win eventually. Now, I wouldn't want to go into that as my first business. If I had a person who started from scratch, just graduated high school with no net worth or backing, it'd be very difficult for me to develop my own phone. And even if I did, in order to compete with the current market, because there are so many competitors who have so many things to have it down right. So making sure that you do siege or start their own business in a relevant industry, one that's basically going to it is competitive, but you have a scene for it and you have a market for it. The other thing that it talks about is know your enemy, know yourself, and you will never have to be in peril. Know your enemy, know yourself, you'll never have to be in peril. So I already used the job interview analogy in this one, and I think it's really applicable in this one. Knowing your energy, knowing yourself. If you're going into a brand new business, let's say it's a Fortune 500 company, and you're looking for a position, so many people who go for these job interviews, whenever asked certain questions, like what's really good about you, they'll say the basic stuff like, oh, I've got really good work ethic. That's what everyone says. Everybody says they have great work ethic because who wouldn't? You wouldn't shoot yourself in the foot. But if you can go into the business meeting, the job interview, knowing exactly what the company's looking for, knowing exactly where they're sitting at the stock, know exactly what they're about to launch, know exactly they're about to basically release to the public, then you could say something along the lines of, look, I understand currently you're sitting at a 30% equity. You're dropping every 6 months. And what you're looking to do is release this new product. I've already versed in the world product knowledge. You need to get it up to 50%. You need to up your sales by 50%. I'm a skilled salesperson. I can utilize multifaceted skills from face to face. I also have a marketing degree that I can utilize and put in your company. If you're looking to increase your sales by 50% with the launch of this new product, I'm your guy. Going on with that knowledge of the company backing, the company can see that you're passionate about the job, you know yourself, you know your enemy. The chances of you standing out amongst your peers is highly likely compared to somebody who's just like, yeah, I'm great, I've got really good work ethic. Because you understand the battle that you're going into, you understand the enemy, you understand your strengths, you understand your weaknesses, you can capitalize on those events. So that's an example of how you can utilize that aspect of the book in your life. Now, it also talks about avoid what is strong and attack what is weak. Avoid what is strong and attack what is weak. Now that's an interesting concept because how do you start applying that to business? Well, the way I interpreted it was understanding the market. So normally there's 3 things whenever you go into business that you basically beat, because generally speaking, you're always competing with someone else. So there's quality, price, and service. So quality is the quality of the product. Is it the top shelf? Is it literally the best product on the market? And so on and so on and so on. Back and forth in terms of the scale. Price. right? Are you the highest price person? Are you trying to beat it on price? Or are you going to be the lowest priced product on the market? And finally, service. Is the customer service that you're offering, is it subpar? Is it good? Now, generally speaking, when people first go into the business, well, they try to beat on all three. All three of those things, so quality, price, and service. They try to basically beat on quality, so they're the highest quality product with the lowest price on the market, and on top of that, they have the highest customer service. When in reality, what they should do is look at what it is that they're going. For example, let's say you're looking to start up a lawnmower company in terms of you're going to cut people's lawns. If you understand that there's 10 people around in the area, and all of them have been running for a while, and every single one of them is pricing full coverage, the service is there, they're also they're incredibly high quality, which means that the price is incredibly high, then your goal should be to beat on price. But in order to beat on price, that means you have to lower your quality of service. And on top of that, your customer reaction always needs to be incredibly high. Then you stand a chance at making profit. Or the vice versa. Let's pretend for a minute that it's the opposite. There's 10 lawn mowing companies in the area, they're all doing gardening, and their all prices are really, really low. What are you going to do to set yourself apart? Because you definitely can't already beat on price, especially if you're just starting. So what you need to do is up your quality. You need to do certain things in that gardening suite, maybe like edging or something like that, I'm not too 100% sure, and make sure that you offer a service that no one else has, and then charge the heck out of it. That way you're able to compete with the market. That's what it talks about. Avoid what is strong and attack what is weak. Understand your market, understand your competitor, and plan accordingly. If you can actively do that, then you know that your business is always going to stay a level of profitable. But the thing is things are going to change. For example, Apple has the highest quality iPhones on the market, arguably. Their price is certainly to match, but the service is not there. It's very difficult to get a lot of people on the phone. In fact, Apple service center pretty much doesn't exist. It's pretty difficult to get in, but the quality of the product is there, and definitely the price isn't. So do you understand that accordingly? Whereas something like Samsung is an interesting case because their quality is about medium, I'd argue, depending on who you ask. But they also have a lower quality model. They're the only phone company in the Fortune 500s that have two phones for every release. One that's their top quality and one that's their bottom quality. And what they do is they basically lower the price. They lower price on that product, and for some reason it still actively sells. They're the only company on the market that does that. And that's because they understand. They understand in the saturated world of phones, their quality is something that's very difficult to beat compared to iPhone. So what they can do is beat on price. So if you can basically master the market, understand the trends, and understand what it is that you're trying to communicate to the people, then you can basically make sure that you're always dominating. Finally, beating the battle without ever actually having to fight, that is the greatest achievement. So when you think that if you have 100 battles and you have 100 wins, that's the highest level of skill, when in reality, it's being able to beat your opponent before the battle even starts. Now, that's tough, because how do you interpret that in business? Well, I interpret that as anticipation. If you can recognize a problem before it comes, or a battle, then you can do stuff and put yourself in steps in place to make sure that that never actually affects you. It's really difficult and it's not easy, but if you have the forward projection and understanding where things go or market trends, then you can make sure that nothing ever catches you off surprise. For example, let's say you're running a team. Let's say you're running a team and you know that people are planning to leave. Because you've been able to communicate with your leaders and your team leaders and you understand that people are going to leave, that's going to be a battle. All right? Your business is going to take a hit from it. So knowing that now, having that level of anticipation that these people are about to put in their resignation, you can look towards replacing them before they even leave. Therefore, it makes the whole transition smooth. On top of that, let's pretend for a minute that you run a business, for example, a printing business. At the moment, you're the only printing business in your suburb. You get word of a new company, a new business that's opening up across the road. It's going to be doing the exact same things as you. Now, knowing that, rather than just waiting for it to happen and hoping for the best, you can have anticipation in place. Put in massive marketing campaigns, put in all around in the area to make sure that you are the dominant figure when it comes to printing, almost as if you're having a grand reopening. That way, you're competing with them rather than them just basically setting up shop and seeing what happens. Rather than living to chance, you're putting in your best effort to make sure that you're still going to stay relevant and maybe, hopefully, I know it's the rough thing to say, but dominate them out of the market. So, hopefully they aren't your competitor anymore. It's these types of things in anticipation that if you can put things in place so that the battle never happens, is always going to be so much more valuable. And thinking it from a warfare perspective, if you can beat the battle before it starts, or beat your enemy before it starts, you don't have to lose valuable people. People aren't going to die. You're not going to have to waste money on siege equipment, feeding the soldier while they're traveling. Because you've anticipated and you understand what's going on, you avoid the actual unnecessary excess of a bunch of different basically assets. Anyways guys, that's The Art of War. There's a bunch of other traits that I highly suggest you read the book, because there's certain things that I just can't 100% explain in a 10-minute video. But that's pretty much it for Quick Notes with Rahsaan. So I highly suggest you don't stop there. Keep looking at some of the other videos on this channel to put yourself in a better stage for improvement and position for success. I'll see you guys in the next one.